At this point in the process of using Quiet, we're going to jump ahead in time just a little bit. We've created the writing task and we've assigned that task to our students. And now we're going to assume that our students have had the time to get into the system, to go through the writing process of pre-writing, drafting, collaboration, and publication, and have published or turned in their written essays. At this point, as educators, now we are ready to re-enter the system and to actually score those pieces of writing that were completed according to that task. So we do this from the Score Tasks tab. And here you'll notice that there's no pull-down menus, there's just a single tab for you to click on. And when you do this, again, you confirm the class that you're wanting to score essays for, and you confirm the grade and click Search. At this point, it pulls back up your roster for that individual class and for the tasks that are available. So if you look in this task column, you will notice that there are multiple tasks that are here all at the same time. If I want to filter that and just take a look at one particular task alone, I can use this filter box up here and type in the name of just one of the tasks and begin to narrow my results just a little bit. And so by doing that, I can limit which tasks. Now you'll notice here that I can also look at the View Response column to see how many of my students have actually published and finished their piece of writing. And you'll notice here in this hypothetical example, my response rate is not that fantastic. But as I sit down to score these essays, I have multiple options here. One of the options that I have is simply to score them in a paper pencil fashion. And so you'll notice down here at the bottom of the screen, I have a Download Responses button. And what I can do is simply select all of the students in that class and click the Download Responses, which will open those student essays in a large PDF file that I can then print out. And I can mark the essays, I can provide feedback, just as I would traditionally in a paper pencil face-to-face environment. Or I have the option of scoring with the assistance of the Quiet tool. And so what I can do is simply click on the response, the View Response link for a student, and I can actually see that student's entire writing process laid out before me. So the very first thing that I would do would be to confirm the prompt that the student wrote to, and then I would see all of the various tabs that student completed. I would see the pre-writing tab. I can click on the drafting tab to see what the student's rough draft looked like. If the student did any collaboration, I could see that here. In this particular example, no collaboration was used, so I see nothing. But then on the publication tab, I can see the final version of this student's essay. And so from here, I can go ahead and mark that rubric, or I can score this essay as I would. Now, if this is a rubric that I've created and that I'm very familiar with, I can use these pull-down menus to identify the point value for each of the 6 traits. And so I can do this very simply by going through and marking the values for each of the 6 traits and then clicking this Save Scores button over on the right-hand side. Or, if I would prefer, I can actually physically mark a copy of the rubric in order to do this by clicking the Mark Rubric button you see near the top of the screen. When I do this, it pulls up the rubric that I created or that I associated with this particular prompt. And so physically what I can do, you'll notice the layout of this rubric looks very, very similar to the state rubrics that are used for the Kansas Writing Assessment, with the rating of 5 being in the left-hand column, and then as we move to the right, a rating of 4, a rating of 3, a rating of 2, and a rating of 1. So literally, I can read this student's essay by toggling back and forth between these screens, and I can mark the sets of descriptors that best match that student's piece of writing. So again, in the area of ideas and content, I can go through and say whether I think the descriptors at a 5 level are the best fit, or maybe I think it's in fact the descriptors at the 4 level. So I would continue this very same process, scoring for all 6 of the traits on this particular student essay and moving through. And again, you'll notice here over here on the left-hand side, I have the all traits. I'm listing all traits at once, or if I choose to, I can list them one trait at a time and just do one trait and score that way. Again, but the idea that I'm scoring this essay according to the rubric that I've created. When I'm done, I have a couple of options. I can save the rubric that I've marked. I can print a copy of the rubric that I've marked if I wanted to share that with the student or share that with others. Or I can just click this Finished Marking Rubric button. And when I do that, the system tabulates which radio buttons I've clicked on the rubric. And you'll notice that it pre-populates these pull-down menus for the traits that I've scored. Now the computer goes through and it takes a raw average of those radio buttons that I've clicked, but as a human being I can still go in and kind of override that average. So if the computer has told me that the average for organization that I marked was a 3.5, but when I reflect on the essay and I reflect on the rubric, I think no, it really is closer to a 4.0, I can use the pull down menu and I can actually overwrite that score and continue on. But again, at this point then, I can click the Save Scores button and I am done, so to speak, with that essay in terms of scoring. The other advantage that I have with student writing is that I can also leave comments on my student's piece of writing for those students to review at a later time. So by clicking on the Teacher Comments tab, I have the functionality much like the peer collaborators do on the peer collaboration side. At this point, I can highlight a sentence, I can click the Make a Comment button, and I can insert a comment for that student to consider. So perhaps I might say, take a look at sentence structure here. So I can literally go through and provide the marginalia feedback that I would in a paper pencil type writing assignment as well. You also may notice that near the bottom of the screen I have a large text box for more summative feedback that I might offer the student. So I can type a very general comment, fantastic job, or this might also be the place where I identify a percentage or a letter grade for this particular assignment. I would do that here at kind of the summative feedback box at the bottom. At that point, I would be done with this student's essay. And you'll notice that I too can download this response if I would like to print off a hard copy of everything that I've just done. Or I have two options. I can click Next Student and go to the next student's essay that needs to be scored. Or I can click Back to Students, which takes me back to my class roster so that I could hand select which student's essay that I want to take a look at next. So again, by using the Score Tasks tab, I can not only score the essay according to the rubric that I've created and associated with this prompt, but I can also provide feedback to my students to fuel the revision process and to help them create stronger and better pieces of writing in the future for their writing skills.